Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, good evening, sir. What is going on, man?
Let's get to it.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. I noticed something, though, about the beginning of this that you've been doing it lately.
What's that?
You turn off the volume to our speakers.
Yeah, mute our microphones while that intro is going on.
That's kind of new, though. I mean, you haven't done that. There's a lot of times you didn't do that in early.
No, but I started doing it because I'm lighting my pipe, and I don't necessarily want to pick up the clicking of the lighter. Although
All right.
I might have picked it up a little bit on there after I did.
Wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I just thought maybe you weren't trusting me to.
Well, you know, there have been
Sing or-
occasions where in the middle of the intro it was time to clear your throat or something, and so that certainly helps to keep that from being a problem. But
All right.
But it's not just about you.
Yeah.
It's about the fact that we can get noisy back here. And forget the fact that, this thing's recording.
Right.
And we need to shut up during
Right.
the intro.
Welcome to winter.
Yeah, it's winter.
It's cooled off in no time. We went
Yeah,
from,
it's early in the evening and it's dark outside.
I know.
Yeah. Already. Cheers.
I wonder
Cheers,
if
by
that'll
the
ever
way.
change daylight savings time. I'm not going to
I don't know.
complain, though.
I don't know if it will.
I'm not going to complain because I didn't spend 8 years in the gulag. How's
Yes.
that? Yeah, how's that for a
Yeah, that's
Little-
interesting.
little little
Because people are
seed there?
going, what in the hell is he talking about?
What's he talking about?
You'll be able to clue him in.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll do it right now.
It might have something to do with the topic tonight.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
It's a good one.
I'm ready.
And I am interested to see what direction you're going to take it in.
All right.
Because I know there's an obvious direction, which we'll maybe touch on. But the title of tonight's podcast is Live Not by Lies. Live Not by Lies.
Yep.
And that is a quote, and I think the title maybe even of an essay that was written by Alexander Solzhenitsyn back in, I don't know, 40s I think it was. No, it might have been later. I don't remember exactly the time that he came up with it, but it was part of his political commentary at the time.
Right.
Solzhenitsyn, for those who might not know, was a Russian philosopher, a Russian writer, a political dissident who was vocal about his opposition to Stalin when Stalin was running the Communist Party in Russia at the time. And as a result of his outspokenness, he was arrested and put into the Russian gulag for a period of 8 years. He was arrested a number of different times in his life for speaking up. Ultimately, was able to get out and actually come to the United States, where he lived for many years as not only under political asylum, but as a hero, honestly, for standing up to.
Right.
And things changed in Russia, and he actually returned to his homeland, and I think he died there. But he's the guy that came up with the title "Live Not by Lies," and I didn't think of that on my own. It was actually, the seed was planted in my brain on this one by my brother. He and I were having a conversation, and he said, "You ought to do a podcast on that."
Yeah. I thank him for the topic.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if y'all that are listening are keeping track, but it was actually my week to pick. And I was struggling with a topic, and Kevin was like, well, I've got one. My brother just happened to suggest this, and I'm like, yes, all right, good. I'm off the hook for that one. So, yeah, I appreciate him coming up with this and look forward to the discussion.
Yeah, and so the final part of the intro is I believe that, and I don't believe, I know that his use of that line was political in nature. It was he was criticizing the Communist Party and the lies that that were being told to the people of Russia about what communism meant and how much good it would do for their society and so on. And he was encouraging dissent against that, and he was encouraging actually kind of peaceful withdrawal from support of that political environment.
Right.
But the line has much broader application, and that's the kind of stuff that really I'd like to talk about tonight. I mean, we can hit on the political stuff and a little bit, and when I say hit on it, I mean if you are in support of politically something, a position, a point that's based on lies, and you know it's based on lies, and you're doing it just out of political expediency, that's a slippery slope. Always has been, always will be. And you might win a battle, but you ultimately it will come back to haunt you to lose the war, I believe.
Right.
The house of cards will fall.
Yeah, it is interesting because there's a lot of parallels between what he's talking about here in the political arena and some of the things that are going on in our world today. Some of the things that we've seen in the past few years that, quite frankly, I didn't believe we'd ever have to deal with in America. And it's so I don't. We've learned and confessed to all of you that getting into these political discussions is certainly not our sweet spot, and not where we want to spend our time. So the only thing that I would say is this is worth a read, and I would ask you to think about those comparisons and how what's going on today may be similar to what he was talking about in this writing, and how you might be able to do something about it.
Yeah, live not by lies. And you're right. And the only thing I'll add to that is in the political spectrum right now on both sides of the aisle, we call it spin. What's the spin? How are you trying to tell your story?
Right.
And a lot of times you can omit, you can add, you can change, or you can outright bold-faced lie. And you do it because you're trying to make a point or you're trying to advance a cause.
Right.
And when it's based on the lie, like I said, you might win the battle, and you might get somebody elected, and you might get something across the finish line, but it's based on a foundation that is going to crumble.
Absolutely. It's a weak
point.
Foundation to begin with.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, politically, I would just say don't support anything that you know is based on lies.
Right.
That's the simple position.
Absolutely.
Politically.
Vote with your feet and vote with your wallet.
Yeah. There you go. But beyond the politics of it, live not by lies. What does that mean to you? What are you taking away from that?
So the biggest takeaway for me is I'll start out by talking about the what I think is the obvious opposite of lying or untruths is integrity, and living a life of integrity in word, in deed, just from start to finish, and I believe that is very important and something that to me, I mean, it's one of my core values, and I'm not going to operate around people that don't have those same views and carry themselves in that same way. So the whole lying thing, truth is just easier to remember,
Right,
because it's the truth. And as we get older, shit gets harder to remember anyway. So, let's just tell the damn truth, because then, that'll be easy to remember. I mean, to me, that's the simple statement of fact about the whole situation. Why would you want to? It's a weak foundation. And then you gotta, remember all the shit that you put out there, and so you don't get caught in your lies. And there's just no good in that can come from anything to do with that.
100% agree with that. But here's a complicating factor.
All right, you erased me, man. You said 100% agree with that, but
100% agree with that, and
okay, all right, cool.
There's a complicating factor.
All right.
And the complicating factor is this. I absolutely 100% believe that there is the truth. There are the facts. There is the truth of what happened. There's the truth of what's going on. Is the truth related to this situation. But the thing that complicates it is everybody has their own perceptions.
Right.
And their perceptions are their reality. And so that's where it gets complicated, because as we well know, two people can observe an event occurring, and there are the facts of the event, and then you talk to them about their perceptions of that event, and they're very different. And so you gotta keep pointing back to what is the truth, what really happened.
Right.
Let's stick to the facts.
Yeah, I think so. We're getting to that's definitely a different realm of truth than what I was talking about. So yeah, because you're absolutely right, especially when you're dealing with perception like that, and you see it. You deal with 4 witnesses that watched the same crime take place, and it's like, wait a minute. By the time you get done talking to number 4, you're like, was he at the same crime scene?
Right.
Or was she at the same crime scene?
Right.
Because it's all in how your mind processes it,
right.
And what you key on based on your filters and so on. So yeah, that's a whole different truth. And I don't think in those cases, in most of them anyways, nobody is intentionally trying to misrepresent what they've seen or what they believe that they saw.
Right.
I'm talking more about the situations where somebody's intentionally misrepresenting something.
Right.
And that's a whole different scenario.
I had 3 areas that I think might, for me anyway, frame this conversation about do not live by lies, or live not by lies, to be very specific on the quote. And these are the 3 areas. Are you lying to yourself? Are you lying to your friends and family? Or are your friends and family lying to you? Or are they living lies? Or are you living lies among them? And 3, then of course there's the political realm. And what can you do about that? So, taking the first one, people lie to themselves all the time about how their life is, what's going on, the decisions they've made, and they start to twist things, and they do that for reasons of self-protection or to avoid embarrassment or whatever. But
shed accountability.
Accountability. But they know they're lying to themselves. Or do they?
I was just going to say, or do they? Do they believe their own bullshit sometimes?
Right.
And I think that there are those people that do. And maybe it's those habitual liars or misrepresenters of the truth that might fall into that category where they start believing their own bullshit. But yeah, I think generally, though, people know.
Yeah, to me, and I actually was thinking about this, and I wrote these questions down. And I think it's more subtle than, this is a bold-faced lie, and I'm going to lie to myself if you can do that somehow. But I think really what you're doing, are you purposefully ignoring information that might be revealing a truth to you that you don't want to know about? Are you refusing to investigate? Are you denying something that might have happened? Are you just kind of blocking out reality because that reality is painful for you to endure in your own personal life? Is there some issue that you're dealing with, wrestling with, trying to decide upon, trying to protect yourself from, where you're ignoring, you're refusing, you're not investigating? And to me, that is predominantly the way people lie to themselves. It's not an outright bold-faced lie. It's more subtle than that. But I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think the lies often show up in the form of excuses for people. Why? Let's say we're using an example like losing weight,
okay,
or eating more healthy.
Okay.
And somebody sets out on a path to do that, and they don't follow through. And then they may start making excuses why they haven't been able to do that, and really they're just lying to themselves, right? Because ultimately, we've talked about before, if it's something you want bad enough, you're going to have the discipline necessary to create the habits that you need to create to do it differently. So ultimately, in a situation like that, you just don't want it bad enough, and you're lying to yourself by making excuses.
Okay, that's a good example. And you use the word habits. Excuse me. Excellence is not an act; it's a habit, right? We've talked about that.
Yeah, and imagine the people that have made lying a habit.
Yeah, So much so that they don't even realize they're doing it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Or don't know what the actual truth is.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You remind me of when you said your health. For those of you who don't know, I am and remain, and I still do Jack LaLanne workouts in my life. And you know, Jack's gone, but I love Jack.
That's very
LaLanne.
cool.
He is the original fitness guru.
He was a stud, man.
He was a stud. And he had this quote. He was a big guy on, of course, on eating nutritious foods. I think he himself was a vegetarian. I don't know that 100% for sure, but I think so. But more than that, he said he was a portion control guy. He was like, just don't frickin' overeat.
Right.
And where was I going with this? I had a oh, it's just people saying, you know, I'm eating properly. I'm eating healthy food. I'm living by a nutritious standard, and he would say, you're just simply eating too much. You're lying. You might be doing all that stuff, but you can eat too much of anything. The most healthy food there is, too much is too much.
Yeah. And you know, and certainly folks that are listening, don't get all wrapped around the axle and think we're targeting, you know, that particular subject area, because you know, that's not the case. And there are some people out there that have legitimate medical issues that keep them from losing weight. But what we're talking about is the people that are physically and mentally capable of doing so, and are just lying to themselves by making excuses because they don't want it bad enough, and they're unwilling to utilize the discipline necessary to make it happen.
Right. Yeah.
So that hurt your feelings, go get a drink, because that's healthy.
So with respect to family and friends, though, this one can be a bit uncomfortable, and I'll just speak for myself. And there's not a whole bunch of lying that I'm aware of going on with my family that I'm aware of. And particularly, I know it's not going on with the close family members, immediate family members, but probably more so among friends that you're a little more distant with. Every once in a while, something will happen, and all of a sudden it will come to light that somebody's been lying about something.
Right.
Back to the title, Live Not by Lies. What do you do in that circumstance? Somebody comes along and you see something, you hear something, you discover something that all of this issue is based on a lie. Somebody's been, and I ask that rhetorically. I mean, I know, you know, depending on who it is and how well you know him, you might confront them and all those various things.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables there.
Right.
But and, you know, it's kind of a risk-benefit analysis that you have to do before, you know, deciding what way to take that.
Right.
Because you might, you know, be in a situation where you have to do something about it, right? You've got to engage with this person, and so you've got to resolve that issue.
Absolutely, and I know I've actually heard you speak about times where you've had to do that in your own life, within your own realm of. But if you're in a circumstance where you can't do that, or it's not appropriate, or you're not the right person, you can still not participate in that lie.
Right.
And to me, that is probably the thing that everybody ought to just instantly say, I am not going to live by lies. So once I'm aware of it, I'm not going to pass it on. I'm not going to talk bad. I'm not going to continue to propagate. I am going to disengage from that lie and not be a part of it. We can do that in every area of our lives when we discover that there's something that's not based on the truth.
Yeah, because if you know, I've often said silence is acceptance, and you know, you're in a scenario like that where you know something is wrong, and you don't say anything, and you stay engaged. Well, you might as well just be telling the lie yourself, or dealing with whatever untruth that is yourself. You know, you have to call it out, or like you said, remove yourself from the scenario.
Right. Yeah, and just not become part of the lie.
Right.
Or allow it to you know, exist. And I can remember very specific circumstances. I'm in a conversation with a group of friends or a group of associates that I'm dealing with, and somebody says something that I know for a fact is based on a lie. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be a professional matter, it can be a personal matter, but I know that's not true. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. And so what do you say? Do you embarrass that person by saying that's not true? I know that's not true, or do you just not engage? Do you not? This is what I know. Don't live your own life based on that. Don't buy into, oh, that's interesting, that's juicy, that's sexy, that's captivating my attention, so I'm going to engage in that.
Yeah, I think it depends, right? So I mean, it depends on what the situation is. If it's something that could continue to be information that could continue to be shared with other people and so on, and that if you don't put a stop to it right then and there, other people are going to hear this false information, and there could be fallout as a result. And I say, it's times like that, you just say, play the bullshit card. No,
Right.
That's not true. That is
Right.
not true.
Right.
Now, that might be information that was based on something that occurred, a long time ago in the past, or far enough back in the past that new things have occurred since then, that maybe the person that said that initially didn't have that new information. Remember, it's all
Yep.
about perception
Yep.
and so on. Or it just it hadn't gotten updated going up the chain or back down that string of communication.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. It's one of those things it depends on the scenario.
Depends on the scenario, but what you can always choose to not engage, not participate in what's going on, and
Right.
and that a lot of times speaks volumes. You're in a crowd and somebody's just not participating. Somebody's not. You kind of look at them and you go, "Wow, something's up with that. I don't know what that is." And it can be a crude comment about somebody. It can be anything, and one person's just not part of it, and it captures your attention, and you go, "Huh, why is that person not engaging?" And you may never know. You may know if you ask them. But it's just interesting because
If you're tuned in enough to pick up on that, then you're probably going to figure it out.
you're probably going to figure it out, and that has an effect as well. Actually, yeah, I think you can influence things that way. Back over to the political realm for a second. This is the
Ruh-roh.
thing. Just in
Just
general.
for a second.
In general, it I shouldn't let it amaze me anymore. I shouldn't disbelieve it anymore. But I am endlessly amazed at the way that particularly those who live in the political world can base entire programs, pushes, platforms on lies. It's astounding how that can happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't always believe that they know their lies.
Exactly.
They just didn't take the time to investigate and figure out, hey, is this cause that I'm championing actually the truth?
Yeah.
Is this information that I'm spewing out there in the public realm actually real information?
Right.
I think there's a lot of that goes on, and there's plenty of it going on right now. You listen to or you see the exchanges on social media about the Kyle Rittenhouse case that's going on. And that's there's a lot more to that case than just his guilt or innocence. There's a ton of Second Amendment issues that are in play here, and I saw somebody make a social media post, and I so badly wanted to engage, and I just chose not to because no good would come from it. But they said, if you're one of these people that you see all these people posting pictures of Kyle Rittenhouse cleaning up graffiti, here's a picture of Charles Manson playing guitar in church. And I'm like, seriously,
Right.
those are so fucking apples and oranges. But again, it's that mindset to spread that bullshit out there. And I just shook my head, and I had to resist the urge numerous times to fire back, but decided not to because it really wasn't worth my time and energy. But I thought I'd share that because it's applicable to what we're talking about here, because it's the spin doctor bullshit.
It's the spin, and that's the right word. And it's just a very popular word. What's the spin? And you think about it in basically any area of public life is, what should our spin be? And
Yeah.
but when you're basing it on a lie, and here's the thing, So many people are willing to trade the short-term victory for no matter what might happen long-term. And it can work. Like I said, you might win the battle, but ultimately it's a house of cards.
Yeah.
Anything, it doesn't matter what it is, that isn't based on the truth always sees the light of day one way or another. And it may take a generation. It may take a couple generations. But eventually, it finds its way to the surface. And again, you may not care. In fact, because we live in such a right now, got to have it, got to win, got to influence, got to be a part of this right now.
Right.
You just don't care about the long-term effects of it until the long-term effects hit you.
Right.
And sometimes
they'll come back around. You'll be here long enough, unless something bad happens to you. You'll be here long enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's because we live in a right now world, because we live in the world of instant gratification. Again, no matter what area of life you're talking about, when you're willing to sacrifice the short term, I don't care what happens in the short term. No, I care very much what happens in the short term, but I don't really think about what's going to happen in the long term. It's going to come back and bite you.
So what do you think about this phrase? The truth will set you free.
Where'd you get that? Never heard of that before.
Oh, come on. I know you've heard that phrase before. What do you think of that phrase? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with what you said early in the podcast, and that the truth is just much easier to remember because you don't have to make up shit. The truth is easy. The truth is, it's liberating because you're just existing in a realm that you're observing what's going on. You're telling stories that are true. It's just, you're free. Yeah. You don't have to worry about it.
So here's my take on that phrase. I think that phrase is somewhat inaccurate, right? So it in and of itself, it's accurate. I think it's misleading as far as this is the way you want to be, because I think saying that the truth will set you free is that you've lied yourself into a corner, or you've lied yourself into a situation where now you're hemmed up, and telling the truth will set you free. So what I believe is telling the truth will keep you free. Because the lies are what's going to get you hemmed up.
Okay.
And so in my mind, I think that should be changed to telling the truth will keep you free, because you're not building that weak foundation of lies that you may or may not be able to maintain because you can't remember them.
Okay. All right, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
I like that interpretation.
Just occurred to me.
Yeah.
Thought I'd share.
All right. To me, it's more of as soon as you realize that telling the truth is the way to live, it doesn't matter whether you've been lying or not. All of a sudden, whew, I'm free, I'm light, I'm easy. I'm like Muhammad Ali. I'm stinging like a bee, man. I'm free.
I don't have anything to say to that, man. I just can't. I'll leave that alone.
No.
So, all right. So I got to say this because this keeps bouncing around in my head. And I've noticed this a couple of times. I'm not a big news watcher, and at the same time, it will be on, in the morning to kind of keep up on world happenings and so on. When did, and I don't. This is a question because I don't know the answer for sure, and I'm not sure there is a definite timeline of when it happened. I think it still is ongoing, but when did the news stop being a factual reporting of things that have occurred, and when did it turn into entertainment, where folks that are reporting these stories and so on feel like that they have to add their 2 cents or give their own personal commentary on what this story is about and add their humor however badly it sucks. When did that happen?
To me, this falls into the category of nothing new under the sun. It's been going on forever. And I know we make a big deal out of it right now because it seems like there's a preponderance of opinion and not. But I've been doing some reading recently about political elections in early America, when I'm first 2 or 3 or 4 presidents,
Right.
where there was all kind of, it's the same, Bryant. It
Yeah.
really is. It's this. I'd like to believe that it probably comes in waves. It probably, there's kind of a sinusoidal, and sometimes it's worse than others. You run out of fuel there.
I just filled this thing up, man. I don't know what the hell is wrong with it.
Yeah, smoking too many pipes. Yeah, but I get your point, and I do recall, and maybe it's because of who I hung out with. It seemed like journalism when I was 20 was more about just report the facts, let the reader or the listener draw their own conclusions. You're just there kind of reporting the facts. And that's gone. That's completely gone. Now everybody's a commentator. In fact, when you get somebody who just reports the facts, it's really strange anymore.
Right. Nobody watches it. It's boring.
Right. It's boring.
Bad ratings.
Right. So but that's not new. This is not new. There were all kind of lies that were being told about people all the way back to, well, I'm sure as long as the written word has been around, and probably before there was the written word. In fact, I'm sure before there was a written word, because everybody has an agenda. Not everybody, but a lot of people have an agenda. Sorry about maybe busting your bubble on that one.
No, I think you're right, though. I think it's, varying degrees. There's so much to consume in our society today. I think we just see a lot more of it than what there has been in times past. I certainly can't and won't attempt to pose an argument to that, because I think you're right. I think it probably has been going on for since the beginning of time. It's just it seems to be more prevalent now.
It does. You are 100% correct about that. And there, we are in information overload. We do live in the information age. You can have access to information on almost, or maybe even, any topic that you can think of. You type it into a search engine, and all of a sudden you've got gazillion, opinions and articles, and that reminded me of something different. I'll come back to that in a minute. And so, well, I'll come back to it right now. When somebody does something, or somebody says something, or there's some issue that occurs on social media, you'll get the fact, you'll get the quote, you'll get the tweet, you'll get whatever, and then you'll get this entire sea full of responses to it.
Right.
And I know there are people who just totally are consumed by reading all this stuff and picking up all of these bits and pieces that they think support their cause.
Right.
And it feeds.
Get all fired up at the ones that aren't, they have opposing views.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and they start these little battles back and forth.
Yeah.
I sometimes read those just because they're entertaining.
Very entertaining.
But I'll tell you what, I got to give a shout out to whoever is writing the press releases for Stafford Sheriff's Office right now. At least the ones that I have seen on Facebook. They are definitely. I don't know who it is. I don't know the name of the person, but very creative with the information that's being put out there in the press releases. And kudos, man, or woman, whoever you are. Outstanding job, definitely entertaining, and I think there've been many people that have made comments to that effect on some of these posts that are out there. And it's a difficult subject to talk about often. You're dealing with people that have potentially done bad things and have found themselves hemmed up, and making poor decisions, etc. And you're putting a cool spin on it and making, not making fun of the situation, but just adding a little lightheartedness to it. And I think it's cool.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling that out.
Yeah. And one other shout out.
Yeah.
So 6B&G, right?
Yep.
Went to the Marine Corps birthday celebration that Chuck does there every year, and man, he always delivers, and it will be on my calendar anytime that I'm in town and able to attend. I'll be there for that ceremony. So outstanding job, Chuck, and it was a great attended event. A lot of my friends were there, and a lot of my brothers, whether I knew them or not, the Marine Corps brothers were there, and got a chance to meet some folks there. The gentleman, I don't know if you were there for the one last year where there was a little bit of a technical snafu going on with Chuck's computer.
Yep.
And this Marine Dave stepped up and sang the national anthem. Well, that was kind of a just a happenstance thing last year. But Dave's on the agenda now.
Yep.
So he sang it again this year, and I'm sure he will until he doesn't want to anymore.
Right.
Because he did an outstanding job with it. And now it's, people expect it.
You bet.
Right. We don't want to hear some crazy recording in your computer. We want to hear Dave sing.
We want to hear the real thing.
Right.
Live and in person.
Yeah, and we sang it with him.
Yeah, of course.
Good.
Of course.
I don't know about my singing being good, but, I'm pretty certain that's not the case.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Live not by lies.
Yeah, I'm not walking around telling people that my daughter's singing ability came from me. Because they know that's bullshit.
Your daughter can sing, that's for sure. You're all right. You're all right. You can carry a tune with a bucket.
Yeah. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at, and singing is something I am not good at.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
I've heard enough to know. Could be worse. Could be better, but everybody could be better.
There's a lot of room for
Right.
better.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I do enjoy hearing you sing as we're warming up, and occasionally I'll capture that on audio and put it out there in the public realm. It's been a minute since I've done that, though.
It's pretty good. That's my that's my conclusion of the matter. That's the lie I'm telling myself.
Live your truth, buddy.
Live
your
truth.
truth.
My truth is, live not by lies.
But it's funny. It's funny that you say that, right? Because it's one of those perception things, because by you saying that you think it's good, and by me knowing that it's not, I have a truth and you have a truth, and neither one of us is lying about the scenario.
If you don't know, I'm kidding, and I know you know. If you don't know, then I'm kidding.
No, I'm just using that as an
I'm not
example.
living by that lie, but I enjoy doing it. I'm making a joyful noise unto the Lord.
There you go.
Emphasis on noise.
Throw the God card out
Right.
there. All right. Well, that pretty much ends my argument.
I'm making a joyful noise unto the Lord, baby. There you go.
Well, there's no chance I'm going to be giving you shit about that anymore, because we don't want to interrupt that. Would you like to take a couple of moments now to do that, or?
No, I'm good. At some point I will, but I'm good. It's this is something that's behind the scenes that you get to enjoy as part of the warm up.
All right.
And
I appreciate that. I'll see if I can make my gratitude show up better.
I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. No worries.
All right. So what have we not covered off on in this live not by lies subject matter?
Everything I've wanted to talk about, we've hit on. So I'm good.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. It's easier to remember, and it'll keep you free.
Live not
free of
by
all the
lies.
burdens associated with telling lies.
Stop lying to yourself. Stop allowing people to lie to you. Investigate the lies when appropriate. Sometimes it's not. Live not by lies. That's the bottom line.
Here's an opportunity for you to tell the truth. Have you hit the subscribe button on whatever platform it is that you're listening or watching
Do it.
this podcast? Have you hit it? Why have you not hit that subscribe button? I would appreciate it if you'd go ahead. We would appreciate it if you'd do that now.
Bet.
All right. But until, let's see here. I'm going to hit this button.
Do it.
I'm out of practice, man. It's like a whole week we missed, and I'm out of practice again.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so I'm going to hit this button right here. No matter who you are or where you are or what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you hit the subscribe button and you take time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.